Pumunta na naman ako sa lansangan, nagpalaboy-laboy na naman ako. Sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung taga saan ako. Yung hinihigaan ko, karton lang. Namalimos ako, nangaaway po ako. Nagmumura, nagsisinungaling, sumasagot sa matatanda. Nangangalkal ako para lang mabuhay. Kailangan ko kumain para mabuhay. Kailangan kong kainin yun para may lakas ako. Kailangan ako makabenta. Kasi kung hindi ako makakabenta, hinahataw ako ng sinturon na may bakal. Doon ko rin naranasan yung minulastya ako. Pero sinabi ko sa sarili ko, may pag-asa pa rin. Ako po si Daniel San Jose. Hayaan niyo pong ibahagi ko yung storya ng aking buhay. Nung maliit po ako, hindi ko po inaasahan na dahil sa pangyayaring ito, magbabago yung takbo ng buhay ko. Kung saan, nangyari ang lahat dahil sa isang pangyayari kung saan ako'y sumama sa isang prosesyon. Na yung prosesyon na yun, dumaan yun sa amin, sa lugar namin. And hindi ko naman, siyempre bata ako nung mga panahon yun. Out of curiosity, so sumama ako. Nung mga panahon yun, wala yung mga magulang ko. So, umalis ako. Iniwanan ko yung mga kapatid ko at sumama ako dun sa prosesyon. So, hindi ko na mamalayan na lumalayo na ako dun sa lugar namin. At papadilim na rin nung mga panahon yun. Hanggang sa namalayan ko na mukhang gabi na. Parang kailangan ko nang bumalik. Hinahanap na ako ng magulang ko. And then, dahil doon, siyempre kinabahan ako, natakot ako. Ako baka pagalitan ako ng nanay ko. Kasi nga hindi ako nagpaalam. Tapos, dahil doon, hindi ko na ngayon alam pabalik. Yun ang problema, hindi ko na ngayon alam pabalik. Kung saan kami nakatira at kung sino yung mga magulang ko. May mga nagtanong-tanong sa akin kasi umiyak na ako nung panahon na yun. At tinatanong nila, taga saan ka? Sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung taga saan ako. Tinanong din nila yung pangalan ng mga magulang ko, wala din ako masabi. So, sa madaling salita, nagpalipas ako ng gabi sa labas, sa lansangan. At natulog ako, natatandaan ko sa isang jeep. Doon ako nagpalipas nung gabing yun. At nung kinaumagahan, doon na nagsimula ang aking paglalakbay. Nagbago na ang lahat, hindi katulad nung dati na nasa magulang, na kasama ko yung mga magulang ko, yung mga kapatid ko. So nagsimula akong nagpalaboy-laboy sa lansangan, kung saan nakipagsapalaran talaga ako. Namalimos ako, nangangalkal ako para lang mabuhay. Kailangan ko kumain dahil para mabuhay.
I have too many enemies there because I live in the streets too for a couple of years. Since my mom died, I was there to learn. We have a house there, apartments, and my mom's side of family is not really rich. I went to private school when my mom's still alive. She's selling houses, real estate. That's how she feeds us. In the house, she got dizzy, and then all of a sudden she was in a coma. So I brought him to the nearest clinic. So they give her first aid there. But then the doctor there told me to transfer my mom to the hospital. So they called for an ambulance. But the thing is, the ambulance won't leave unless you pay them. My mom is dying right there. Like, I have money, but I didn't have the money right beside me because I was in the rush to bring her to the hospital. When you go to the hospital, you didn't have money, what are you gonna do? You're gonna wait there until you die. They might treat you, but they're not gonna give you the best treatment. So by that time, my mom reached the hospital though, but like it was too late. But when she died, like I want to die too, but I don't want to kill myself. So I went to the bad place in the Philippines, the bad area, or the ghetto, what they say here. There's too many gangs, robbers, criminals, kids gangs. You'll do anything just for money.
How can they survive without anybody taking care of them? They have to fend for themselves. And when you fend for yourself, sometimes on the streets, you're willing to do whatever it takes in order to just have food in your stomach.
This is something that's happening because of economic reasons, parents' irresponsibility and negligence, parents becoming apathetic of their children's needs.
Why do they go there? Why do they choose to be in the gang? Why do some choose to be in the school? For me, it's all about engagement. It's all about who are the people who will welcome them. It's about inclusion, not exclusion. Being in the gang doesn't make them, a bad person. But these people who choose to be in the gang, they just want to be included. And if the school will not include them, then definitely they will find some way, they will find a place or an organization or a group who will welcome them. And it's just happened that it's a gang.
They prefer to live in streets because for them it's their home. Because since they were little, they've been doing that. People there eat one time a day. If you can't eat, you don't have money, even though you beg for money, you're not gonna get enough. I didn't know how to cook real food. I only know how to cook rice and fry food.
It would be best to strengthen the family. If the family would know what are their roles, their functions, it would really be instrumental in the development of the child.
20 years ago, it was 250,000. Now it's almost the same, okay? We have come and go, we have trained a lot of children. But because of poverty, there are much more children. But basically, they're concentrated in certain areas, okay? Manila, Cebu, Davao, Jensan. That's why the Department of Social Welfare is, in the case of street children, they're reaching out to these chartered cities to be able to reach out the homeless families, particularly the children. Abandoned and neglected children are usually found in the urban areas. Malnutrition, lack of education, child labor. I'm concerned about children who are segregated because I know where they are. They're abused. They're being used as maids.
Para sa aking sarili, tinis ko ang lahat ng yon hanggang sa isang pagkakataon na kung saan may isang pamilya na pumulot sa akin. Pinangakuan ako, sinabihan ako ng mga magagandang bagay. Paaralin ako, bibigyan ako ng magandang kinabukasan, ipoprovide yung aking mga pangangailangan tulad ng pagkain, edukasyon. So sa madaling salita, dahil natural sa isang bata na maniwala, no, sa mga pangako ng mga nakakatanda. Dahil doon, sumama ako sa pamilyang to.
Children from the street, they just need a family to take care of them, or just need people to, you know, to look after them, or to make them feel that they belong, that they have a family, that they have somebody who really look after them.
When we emphasize the sense of belongingness, or we're trying to inculcate to them the sense of belongingness, there is much pride and even confidence is developed. The feeling of being wanted, being loved, you know, was felt by them.
In providing a home for every child, it is giving the child a future now.
We have to work with families and creating awareness among the young people.
They grow up in the street, which is, you know, they feel that they don't have nothing. They feel that they're less important.
Sa pagbabakasakaling ito na yung sagot. Bagamat nawala man ako sa tunay kong mga magulang, inisip ko baka ito na yung pinadala ng Diyos para maging pangalawa kong mga magulang. So, dahil doon, nakita ko na maganda naman yung kanilang pakikitungo sa akin. Pero, di kalaunan, lumabas din yung tunay nilang kulay. Lumabas yung tunay nilang motibo. Na kung saan yung pamilya, inalipin ako, inalila ako. Kuminsan, hindi ako papakainin. Ang ginagawa sa akin, pinagtitinda ako ng plastic bag sa market, sa palengke. Kailangan ako makabenta. Kasi kung hindi ako makakabenta, hinahataw ako eh. Hinahataw ako ng sinturon na may bakal. Talagang masakit. Kasi wala akong laban dahil bata ako. May isa pang pagkakataon sa buhay ko doon na sinamahan ko yung pamilyang yun. Hindi ko talaga makalimutan. Yung pagkain ko, kinain ko siya, may gaas eh. Pero again, tinis ko din yon. Dahil inisip ko, kaysa naman bumalik ako sa lansangan, wala naman akong pupuntahan. Tiisin ko na lang.
In the slum area in the Philippines that have to work at a very early age, they don't get paid. And now I consider that child labor and child abuse.
Child labor is a big problem. Prostitution, trafficking for prostitution is a big problem.
But it's good that we have this institution, this this orphanage, who makes the balance, trying to protect the kids.
It bothered me when I heard the news that they were kidnapping children for the body parts, to bring to another country. That's very sad. But of course, there's no big, huge coverage on that. So it's almost like you don't want our country to look bad. You don't go around saying that they're doing this in this country, except for people, of course, that comes from another country and film the children, and then it gets shown everywhere. It's not good for the government. They want the government to look good. So your life could be in danger doing that.
It's not easy to do these types of film. Other than it's kind of dangerous to concentrate on this kind of subject matter. It's the film that I'm doing are not even commercial. But the mere fact that I'm doing this types of film, I hope that it could create some awareness to the right people, so that they could do something about it. It's not easy for me to look for a producer to produce this kind of films, because you cannot assure your producer that you can give back their money. When I did my first feature, I'm not even sure that I'm gonna be a filmmaker for the rest of my life. After doing my first film and I found out how powerful that film could be, that really awakened my senses. Actually, I don't have any idea about foster care in the Philippines not until we saw this documentary on television about foster care, about foster families and foster institution. That really, gave an interest to me as a filmmaker and as a person, as an ordinary individual, that there's such thing as foster care in the Philippines. It's been in the Philippines for the past 20 years.
Of course, we are much concerned about the children who were illegally adopted, okay? And they were taken in the family that's through simulation of birth, and that is a crime in the Philippines.
ACAP is a network of child caring agencies all over the Philippines. And basically, we are mandated to take care of abandoned, neglected, and special needs children, primarily for adoption.
ACAP started in 1991, but they were officially incorporated in 1994.
We are involved actually in other forms of advocacy, not only in terms of finding homes, but also ensuring that policies that protect the children are also in place in our country.
We want to provide protection for every children that we care in an institution. We provide a protective custody for children who cannot be cared and who are abused, neglected by the families or by the community or by guardians. We operate within the guidelines of the Department of Social Welfare. ACAP is very close to the government. We can recommend to the government the policies and even projects which we think should be implemented. We are the closest to the DSW, the Department of Social, particularly working with children in residential care and on child placement.
We are involved in advocating for bills and legislation for the benefit of the children, and at the same time training our social workers, caregivers in skills that would help in their taking care of our children.
So we want them to have a family, and we want them to have a separate life, not only the institution.
To be a member of ACAP, you must pass certain standards too, because we don't want fly-by-night organizations cropping up, because that's where trafficking comes in. If you don't monitor, that's why it's very important, because children can just fall through the cracks of the system and you won't even know where they go.
My mother was a nurse, and there would be many people who would come to our house sometimes asking for free vaccination. I found out that there is a profession called social work, and so I enrolled and get a degree. I can be a venue where you help individuals, families, and therefore that they should be able to use it to be able to have a decent life.
Dahil doon, dumating din sa punto na talaga hindi ko na kinaya. So, hindi ako nagdalawang isip. Kasi, ang iniisip ko noon, gutom ako eh. Kailangan ko kumain. Kailangan kong kainin yun para may lakas ako sa pagtitinda, sa mga pinapagawa nila sa akin, sa mga gawaing bahay, at kung ano-ano pa. Dahil doon, nung hindi ko na talaga kinaya, lumahis na naman ako ulit. Pumunta na naman ako sa lansangan. Nagpalaboy-laboy na naman ako. Bumalik na naman ako sa dating buhay.
is the streets. You have to be smart to survive. Their hope, it's gonna be their decision. Grab those opportunities that came to them, or be like that for the rest of their lives, then it's their choice.
Alala ko pa nga, yung hinigaan ko, karton lang. Yun yung nagsisilbing banig ko. Tapos yung kumot ko, yung sako lang. Panlaban sa lamig, sa mga insekto, kung ano-ano man. Tinis ko lahat ng yon dahil kailangan kong mabuhay.
Nanganak ako sa Pasay. Lumaki ko sa Bulacan. Doon din ako nag-aral. Hindi rin ako nakapagtapos ng high school. I work early. Maaga rin ako nagtrabaho. Marami akong napasukan trabaho. Kagaya ng paggawa ng paputok, labor, hard work ang labor.
At sa hindi inaasahang pagkakataon, nabagan siya ako. So, nahuli ako.
They're corrupt too, because they're gonna say, "Oh, you've violated this, you've violated that." So they're just gonna give like 500 pesos. Just let me go. Then the police will take it and go. They're gonna arrest some people who's like robbers or those people who sell fake DVDs. So they're gonna get all the things and then they're gonna sell it. It's just a cycle. The government doesn't give them enough money or enough salary to feed their families. So can you blame them? No, right?
Dinala ako ngayon sa isang center. Isang juvenile center. Tawag nila, sa pagkakatanda ko, ang pangalan niya, Manila Youth Reception Center. Nasa Manila ito. Ngayon, dinala ako doon para obserbahan. So, nagtataka ako bakit ako dinala doon. Kasi nung nakita ko yung lugar na yun, talagang miserable. Kung aking ilalarawan, hindi maganda yung lugar. Dahil nakarehas yung mga bata, yung mga kabataan. So, doon nalaman ko lang nung malaki na ako na yung center pa lang yun ay para doon sa mga nabagansya, sa mga na nakagawa ng krimen, na nagnakaw, nakapatay. So, na kung saan pinoproseso yung kanilang kaso.
Tapos nabagaan siya ako sa Luneta, dinala ako sa juvenile. Yung buhay sa loob ng juvenile, iba sa mga orphanage na pinupuntahan namin ng katrabaho ko ngayon. Yung mag-i-sparring kayo, parang boxing siya, pero naaabuso yung katawan ko pa noon kasi bata pa eh. Ang kasuntukan ko rin, kapwa ko rin bata. Nung nakikipag-sparring ako, tinamaan ako sa uso, dumugo ang uso ko sa ilong. Siyempre, lalaki lang din ako, lumalaban din ako.
Dahil doon, akala ko nakaligtas na ako sa pang-aabuso, sa mga hirap na aking naranasan sa labas, sa buhay lansangan at doon sa pamilya na pinanggalingan ko. Pagdating ko din sa loob, hindi pa pala. Doon may mga malalaking mas malalaki sa akin. So, kapag meron silang gusto, inuutos-utusan ako para akong alila. Kokotongan, tatadyakan ka, sisipain ka. Minsan nga, yung kumot ko, imbis na kumot ko na, ninanakaw pa sa akin, kinukuha. So, lahat yun tiniis ko. Kahit na gano'ng masakit. At kasi nung ako'y hindi ko rin siya matandaan kung ilang taon ako nung time na yon. Sa pagkakatanda ko noon, kasi mula doon, may lilipat na ako nun sa isang ampunan. na kung saan doon sa lugar na yon, doon sa center na yon, bukod sa physical na pagmamaltrato sa akin, doon ko rin naranasan yung minulas siya ako. Para akong ninakaw yung pagiging inosente ko. Wala akong magawa. Hindi ako makalaban. Dahil bata ako. Tinis ko lahat yon. At umaasa ako na isang araw makakaalis ako doon. Hindi ako nawalan ng pag-asa. Hanggang sa dumating ngayong pagkakataon na binalikan ako doon. Dito lang din sa Manila, sa Hospicio de San Jose.
Two of our oldest members are the Hospicio de San Jose and the Kaisahang Buhay Foundation or the KBF.
Nung dinala ako doon, dahil hindi ko nga alam yung aking mga pagkakakilanlan, yung aking pagkatao. May isang social worker na humawak ng aking kaso. In-interview niya ako, tinanong niya ako about sa aking nakaraan, sa aking mga pagkakakilanlan. Wala akong may bigay. Yung aking edad, yung aking kaarawan, sinong mga magulang ko, saan kami nakatira, wala akong may bigay. Hanggang sa ang ginawa niya, inikot niya ako sa mga liblib na area, sa mga squatter. Nagbaka sakali siya, baka meron ako matandaan. Siyempre kapag nakita mo yung lugar mo, masasabi mo, uy, diyan kami nakatira. Oh, yan yung bahay namin. Pero wala pa rin, walang nangyari. Ang sunod na ginawa namin, ang ginawa nung social worker ko, inano niya ako sa newspaper. Pinablish niya ako. Panawagan na kung sino man yung aking mga magulang, kunin ako doon sa lugar na yon. Pero wala rin po nangyari. So, hindi pa rin kami nawala ng pag-asa. Umaasa pa rin kami na makikita ko yung magulang ko. So, ang sunod namin ginawa, nanawagan kami sa mga radio station kung saan yung public service na kanilang binibigay ng libre. So nanawagan kami, nanawagan po ako. Tinawagan ko yung aking mga magulang. Nakunin nila ako doon, wala pa rin po. So hanggang sa ang pinakalas po na ginawa namin, nanawagan kami sa telebisyon. Isa pong programa ito sa isang network na kung saan eye to eye. Si Inday Badiday po. 2 beses po kami doon na nanawagan na kung saan yun nga, hinahanap ko yung mga magulang ko, kunin na nila ako doon. Pero wala pa rin po nangyari. Dahil po doon, nasaktan po ako. Yung pakiramdam ko na parang pinabayaan ako. Yung feeling ko, yung kinalimutan na ako ng mga magulang ko. Pero sinabi ko sa sarili ko, may pag-asa pa rin. Na kahit ito yung pinagdaanan ko, alam ko may pag-asa pa rin ako.
They have been separated from their parents. Some have been abandoned, some are orphaned. And that situation has a long-term impact.
We want to ensure to give the mother a chance to get back her child because we really believe in a biological family. However, there are really instances where the mother, if given even enough time to come back, couldn't come back anymore and get the child.
There are kids that they doesn't want to be brought back to their parents because they have bitter feelings because of abandoning them.
The temporary, decision of the mother to have the child left because they are not yet ready to take care of the child. We want the child to be taken care of by a family environment.
But as soon as I talk to them that, God loves you so much, and though you are here because your parents abandon you or neglect you, but God has a plan for you. And since it's still your parents, you have to, to forgive them. You have to still love them.
The non-existence of their parents around them to teach them makes them feel inferior in their thinking.
The caregivers are having difficulties in teaching them how to use your bed to sleep, but they prefer to sleep in the floor because they used to do that. And then you have to use a spoon and fork while eating. And since they're not doing that before, so it's very hard time for them to be trained. But eventually, as the caregivers, with my supervision, eventually they learn and they even appreciate it.
Pero sa kabilang banda, meron din pong lungkot dahil yung pakiramdam mo na parang hindi ka kinuha o hindi ka kinilala ng magulang mo.
I had some problems with some institutions for the children who are schooling outside, and that they would not come back because they're being told orphan, 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 orphan. So they become afraid of going out. Okay, they're ashamed of being identified as orphans. Okay, meaning that they are afraid of interaction with the community. They're not confident because they've been isolated.
Nakita ko na iba rin po talaga ang buhay sa labas. Nakita ko dahil ako mismo naranasan ko kung gaano kahirap.
We have a lot of researches on the effects of institutionalization. The children who have been institutionalized cannot live by themselves. They have some problems with social interaction with people. Okay, they may be intelligent, okay, but they are afraid to live outside the community because their life have been so structured. We believe that somehow there is psychological effect, psychological damage on the children who have stayed long in the institution.
Siyempre po, lumalaki ako. Nag-aral po ako. Nag-aral ako mula kindergarten po. Kung saan, doon din po sa institusyon na yon. Kasi meron po silang paaralan sa loob. Nag-aral ako doon mula sa paggalit ko hanggang sa ako ay umabot ng ikalimang baitang po ng elementarya.
They didn't have good education. Well, you can blame those people too for not going to school. Even though a janitor there, the requirements is at least college level. People there is just high school or elementary graduate.
Here, the public school system is free, meaning there's no tuition fee. But there are lots of costs. Example, test paper. You have to pay for the paper, for the printing, for the projects.
Their parents can't provide or give them money for their lunch in school, to buy books. Because even though the school is free, things there that you have to pay.
But for kids who are still not on the streets but poor and still studying in a government school, they don't have support.
Your shoes, uniform, notebooks, daily money. Where does their parents gonna get that if they're poor?
Education should be a choice. But it's our part in the education side to engage them to be with us.
If you really want to help yourself, there's a system that could help you. Those people who really wanted to finish schooling, they become scholars. So the school gave them money, they give them a job in the school so they can earn money. Books are free, uniform are free, but that's limited. They get a test and then 3 of them will get it and the rest Well, they have to find another school who can offer scholarship, and they have to pass that.
But the thing is, it's not enough to have this physical structure. The community needs to shape their mind, need to shift their mindset of how to engage the students go to school. It's not just telling them go to school, but really telling them the importance of education, how fun it is to study, the passion of learning. So that's one thing that everyone should need to understand.
I bumped into Smart Communications during the time when cell phones were a luxury. The company founded itself on the slogan, cell phones for all. When one time I went up the mountains and I saw one native holding a smartphone. I was really surprised that he would have a smartphone. And I said, I asked him, but there's no signal up there in the mountains. No, there's signal up in the mountains between the two trees. Between the two trees you can get signal. So, and yes, there was. But when we reached his place, there was no electricity. I said, where will you charge if you go low bat? And he said, well, we have solar panels. Oh, you have solar panels. Good thing that somebody donated to you. No, nobody donated it to us. We bought it ourselves. The son was asking for the cell phone of the father, and the son began playing with the cell phone, and he was watching a cartoon video clip. And I said, where did you get that video clip? Well, I downloaded it, and he used the term downloaded it from the local market. And then it struck me. What if instead of cartoons or just songs, those would be educational videos or educational songs that they can get from the local market? So it opened up a possibility for us that, yes, we can use technology to reach out to the unreached. Because even though they have no signal, they can come down the mountain, upload online materials, and then bring it back to their community for the children to learn. And they got connected to the world. We've been doing that for the last 10 years and created a network of more than 300 public schools nationwide from north to south, remotest areas of the country. We now need to move to a new level, which is internet for all. So that's where we are.
Sa akin pong paglagi doon sa lugar na yun, maraming bagay din po ang natutunan ko. Dahil doon, ako po yung nag-aral, nagsumikap po ako mag-aral ng mabuti. Hanggang sa, naalala ko nga po, nagka-honor pa po ako noon. Grade 4, yung pinakalas ko po. Kung saan first honor po ako sa klase po namin. Talagang nagtiyaga po ako. Sabi ko sa sarili ko, kahit wala akong magulang, pagbubutihan ko, pagsusumikapan ko, sa abot ng makakaya ko. At aabutin ko yung pangarap ko. Ako po, habang lumalaki ako doon sa lugar na yon, masasabi ko, hindi ako matinong bata. Marami din akong mga bagay na ginawang hindi maganda. Nangaaway po ako. Nagmumura, nagsisinungaling, sumasagot sa matatanda. So, wala akong pake sa mga bagay na yun. Basta sa akin, masaya ako sa ginagawa ko. Hanggang sa, yun nga po, dumating sa punto na ako po ay inilipat sa isang institusyon na kung saan hindi ko alam kung saan at anong institusyon. At ito nga po yung Shepherd of the Hills.
Yeah, when we took over 2003, I think Daniel San Jose is one of my eldest son. We got him from Hospicio de San Jose. That's why his name is after the San Jose.
Kung saan sa pagkakatanda ko po, inilipat po nila ako dito August 25, 1995.
Then he stayed with me personally, you know. And then I said, Daniel, you better achieve high school, more than high school level. You need to go farther than that.
Hanggang sa nung ako po'y dumating dito, natanong po ako nung yung pinaka-founder po ng home na ito.
So we keep on counseling him. What do you want to be in the future? He's just simply saying, I want to be a pastor. I said, yeah, that's fine to be a pastor, but get a professional, get a skill, to add on to that.
At ang sabi ko, gusto ko po mag-aral. Gusto ko pong matapos yung aking pag-aaral ng elementarya. So, pinadala po nila ako sa Zambales. Kung saan meron din pong pasilidad ang Shepherd of the Hills po. Nag-aral po ako, nag-enroll po ako ng grade 5 hanggang sa ako po yung nakapag-graduate ng grade 6 sa elementary. At nung mga panahon pong yon, nung pagkatapos ko ng elementary, sabi ko, itutuloy ko yung aking high school. Gusto kong mag-aral sa high school. Dahil doon, pinagpatuloy ko po yung pag-aaral ko sa high school. Mula first year hanggang second year po ng aking pag-aaral. Sa Zambales din po. Nung ako po'y magti-third year na sa high school, pinakaiusapan ko po yung aming director na kung po pwede, lumipat po ako dito sa Manila. Hanggang sa ako po ay nakapag-transfer dito, pinagpatuloy ko po yung pag-aaral ko. Hanggang sa ako po ay naka-graduate ng high school po. Dito din po sa Quezon City.
At last, he said that, I want to try to be a nurse, and we supported that.
Maalala ko nung nag-aaral ako ng kolehiyo, napakahirap po. Ang mag-aral sa kolehiyo, lalo na sa kursong nursing, ay napakahirap po.
So he always say, Nana, it's so hard. Nana, it's so hard. Simply, maybe I cannot finish this course, because I don't want him to quit.
Napakalaki ng gastos. Iniisip ko nga po nung mga panahon na yun, bakit di na lang kaya ako tumigil?
We are now looking forward to many of them getting higher education, not necessarily in a college degree level, but something that they can use as a life skill. But we are certainly taking that responsibility to equip them or to support them to get a higher education.
Dahil hindi lang naman ako yung pinagagastusan, hindi lang naman ako yung kailangan bigyan ng mga bagay nito. Marami kami.
And then he graduated from his course nursing. And just right after that, I told him, keep believing in God and believe in your dreams.
Dahil po doon, aking pasasalamat ko, nagtapos po ako ng kolehiyo. Noong October 2007 po.
I think all these kids are looking up to Daniel. I said, Kuya, we can also do what you did. We can also finish college,
I'm Jesse Francisco. I'm 17 years old. Ako'y mula sa magulong pamilya na kung saan laging inaaway ng tatay ko o nanay ko. Kaya napag-isipan ng nanay ko na ipaubaya kami sa isang orphanage na yun na tinatawag nilang Shepherd of the Hills Children's Home.
Ako po si Mark Angelo Aiko. Ako po ay 17 taong gulang na po. Ako po ay 11 years na po rito nakatira dito sa Shepherd of the Hills.
I'm seeing them as my own, a blessing from the Lord, and I'm seeing them as a gift from the Lord for this family, Shepherd of the Hills.
At yun nga, binigyan niya ako at binigyan din ako ng Lord ng talent. Tulad ng paggigitara, tapos pagkanta.
Ako po ay isa sa mga offspring band na ako po ay isa bassista.
They just don't perform academically. They have other skills. And so music, arts, and sports are three areas which we have injected into the curriculum.
Mahilig sa music and gusto ko pong mag-aral pa ng maraming instrument para po magamit ko po sa kinabukasan ko.
They called me Dad. We felt that it was best for us to be called their dad and mom for the purpose of giving them a sense of family
Belongingness.
and belongingness. The music program is something that we would want to strengthen as they move in age, because it's something that they can hold on to as they mature in life. They can use music in whatever career they enter. It becomes a healing instrument towards their soul and towards their neighbors.
Dalo po, sir.
Dalo.
Kayo? Why? Bakit? So, kung gumaya po sa ano po, ninong ko po, Dalo.
Todo to eh. Para makatulong po.
Ikaw, Toy, anong gusto mo paglaki? Ha?
Galaki kasi.
Us, we are a developing country, so therefore the concentration is actually more on poverty because it's worldwide. I mean, it's all over our country. So everywhere you turn, you see poor people. But it doesn't mean that it only is a problem of third world countries, because it happens everywhere. It's a global problem, therefore everybody must be concerned about this problem.
We have a dilemma whether the government will build schools or not, because in protected areas like this, it's illegal to build structures. But you're caught in a dilemma because there are students there. In a school here, there are 70 students per classroom, so that's not very good for learning. So we're looking at alternative delivery mechanisms, as the government calls it, where you can also learn using your tablets. Tablets are getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. There's a lot of potential there. We did some experiments using tablets in preschool, and the results were very encouraging.
The main objective of education is empowerment. We have to empower them by giving them knowledge, by equipping them, and that's what we need to do.
If the NGOs don't step in, or even if government do not reach out their hand and take these children in and try to develop them as good citizens of our country, through education, of course, and love and nurturing, then how do you expect these children to be good citizens?
How about you, Leandro? Asiman, Marie. Yeah. How about you? Police. CJ. Do you want to travel around the world, okay? How about you, Troy? For street children, we need to educate them. For instance, what are their rights? If someone will abuse them, what office should they go to? Or also, we should educate the agency. If a street children will approach them and look, ask for help, what will they do? So there should be an education in both parties.
Becoming more aware of what rights you have, and becoming more aware that in order for government to be functioning well for the benefit of the people must be involved themselves, and they must stand out and say, hey, this is what we need, and this is what government should be giving us, and this is also what we can help government with. We must answer the needs of every child today, not tomorrow.
Ako po ay fourth year high school. Bagamat ako po ay nag-aaral pa lamang, gusto ko na po kagad makapagtapos para po sa mga pangarap ko na gusto kong matupad.
At ngayon, ito, nag-aaral ako na mabuti para matupad ko ang aking pangarap sa buhay na maging isang doktor balang araw.
Marami po akong pangarap tulad po na pagiging pilot po.
A lot of them are doing good in their studies because maybe they're maturing. They're maturing and they're finding their path, to their dreams. And just right after maybe 4 to 5 years, they will graduate from college, and that's the most exciting of my life, exciting years of my life, to see them that they can be professionals and they can pursue their dreams.
Isang araw lumabas ako sa Shepherd, and merong isang tao na nagbigay sa akin ng isang verse sa Bible. Binigay niya ako sa Psalms 27 verse 10. Iwan man ako ng aking magulang, may Panginoon pa akong aasahan. Kaya dali-dali akong bumalik doon sa Shepherd. Tapos yun, sinabi ko sa sarili ko, pati kay Lord, sabi ko, Lord, makikinig na ako sa lahat ng payo mo, sa lahat ng turo mo sa akin. Makikinig na ako sa kanila sa mga nagbabantay sa akin, sabi ko sa sarili ko.
Siya ang nagbago ng buhay ko. Ganito man po ako magsalita ngayon, dahil sa Kanya. Kaya masasabi ko po, kung ano man ang narating ko ngayon, ay dahil sa Panginoon.
I dream for them, and then telling them that I think God also dreamed for you, as it said in Jeremiah 29:11, that His plan for them is not to harm them, but to give them hope in the future. So I always reminding them that God has something for you, and just keep dreaming. Just keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. I think nothing is impossible.
Sabi ko, Lord, alam ko may plano ka sa buhay ko. May dakilang plano ka sa akin. Binago niya yung wasak kong buhay, yung durog kong pagkatao. Binuo niya po ulit. Hindi ko po ma-describe yung kagalakan sa puso ko. Nag-uumapaw po yung kasiyahan ko sapagkat kung akin pong binabalik-balikan yung aking mga nakaraan, makikita ko na ang layo na ng hinakbangan ko. Ang layo na kung saan na ako dinala ng Diyos.
I even told him, Dan, you're gonna get married. He's now in UK, living with her, and he has a good job. And I think they're planning to come back next year, and I'm happy. Yeah.
I see a future where the children can look forward to achieving their full potential. achieving their full potential as human beings in all aspects, spiritual, material, cultural, economic, and being happy.
My intention is to stop one heart from breaking. It's like Emily Dickinson, if you can stop one heart from breaking, you shall not live in vain.
Being a third world country, we cannot take this out. They cannot take this away. It would really need a lot of hard work from the government.
I'm not going to wish for more than what I cannot do, because I don't want to be unhappy, and think that I wish I could have done more. I'm doing what I can with the best of what I have.
Ibinabalik ko lang po kung ano yung bagay na aking tinanggap mula sa Panginoon. At dahil po dyan, ako po'y nagagalak. Dahil alam ko po, sa maliit kong kaparaanan, ako po'y nakakahipo ng mga buhay ng ibang tao. Na kung saan sila ay ma-encourage, ma-inspire, na makita ang buhay. Na ang buhay ay, hanggat ikaw ay humihinga, hanggat ikaw ay buhay, may pag-asa. At higit sa lahat, ang Diyos na tumitingin at sumusubaybay sa atin sa araw-araw. Kaya po, napaka-buti ng Panginoon sa buhay ko. Kung may isang bagay man po akong masasabi, yun ay dahil sa kabutihan ng Panginoon. Marami pong salamat.
They tell the people all is safe and will be fine, but they didn't know that we've been awake all this time. We will fight beyond strength. There is no power strong enough to hold us back, 'cause we've got the fire to outstructure back. All of this is real. All of this can save the day. You have the power to make change beyond strength. Beyond strength. Our passions burn inside of us like a coal burning train. We will fight beyond strength. There is no power strong enough to hold us back, 'cause we've got the fire to outstructure back. All of this is real. All of this can save the day. You have the power to make change beyond strength.
To my son, I would say, Zach, I love you, and I will always be here for you. I will support you. I will take care of you. One thing I could promise to you is that I would not let anyone harm you. I would not let you experience what I have experienced. I would make sure that and I would do my best to be a dad to you, to be a good dad, and to be a father that you could be proud of.